This is the reciprocating saw, also sometimes called the Sawzall, although its actual name is the reciprocating saw. Sawzall is a brand name proprietary to the Milwaukee brand, and that's what they call their reciprocating saw, the Sawzall. Theoretically, it can saw through anything, and they can saw through a lot of different things. They have metal cutting blades, they have wood cutting blades, they have pruning blades, they have demolition blades, so a lot of different blade options for them. And it is the reciprocating saw. We have 3 of them in the cordless format. 1, 2, and 3. We do have a corded Milwaukee Sawzall brand reciprocating saw as well. So that is an option, and you can see it says right there, Sawzall. That's their proprietary brand name. But if you're doing a lot of work and a lot of repeated work with this, a lot of demolition, the corded one is going to probably be your friend. Comes in a handy carrying case. Safety glasses are required and must be worn at all times. All saws require safety glasses as minimum eye protection. Hearing protection is recommended. This tool does generate loud and high-pitched noise during operation. For single cuts, the noise is brief, but if you are using this saw repeatedly, you should wear ear protection. Long or loose hair, neckties, and loose or baggy clothing must be contained. Tie back or tie up hair, roll up long sleeves, tuck in your shirt. A dust mask or respirator may be required for some operations, especially when cutting materials that create a lot of fine dust, such as homasote or Upsom board, masonite, or MDF materials. Rings, watches, and loose jewelry should not be worn. Gloves should not be worn while operating this tool. If they were to get caught in the blade, it could lead to serious injury. Pre-operational safety checks. Locate and ensure you are familiar with all machine operations and controls. Controls and adjustments may vary from tool to tool, particularly among different manufacturers of the same type of tool. We're going to look at all the reciprocating saw features and adjustments, how to change blades, how to change the battery, etc. This one does have a lock. It's locked. That's unlocked. Locked. You should put it in locked mode when you put it away. We're going to take the battery out before we do other things. The saw has an adjustable shoe. The adjustment works by the red button here on this one is a lock. That's unlock, and the shoe will adjust up and down. It only has a few notches. It's not infinitely variable. You have to get it into one of the notches. You should adjust it up and down as needed. Oftentimes, it's just going to be in the fully down position, and that's okay for most general tasks. The blade is a quick release. It actually opens with the Makita. It opens to a fully locked open position, and the blade goes in. Get my fingers out of the way, and that snaps. I'll turn it from the side. Blade comes out, push it in, and it snaps. You can put the blade in this way. You can also put the blade in upside down, depending on the task that you need to do. Most of your tasks are going to want the blade facing down like this, because we operate it like this. And we push down. It's two-hand operation. We want to hold on to it by this part that's protected with the rubber, and we want to hold on to it back here. The saw is going to bounce at us, and we need to keep this shoe on the material that we're cutting, but we don't need to keep it completely flat the way we do the jigsaw and the circular saw. You just need some part of the shoe making good, firm contact and keeping that contact in place. The shoe is there and it's sized the way it is so that you can adjust the control and that your cut is a little bit fluid and it moves over all of the shoe as needed, as long as the shoe is gripping the material. Check your workspaces and walkways to ensure that no slip or trip hazards are present. Pick up cut-off scraps. Sweep up sawdust regularly. Keep the table and the work area clear of all tools, off-cut lumber, and sawdust. Use the appropriate blade for the materials. Use metal cutting blades for metal work. Use wood cutting blades for cutting wood. Use bimetal or combination blades for demolition work that might be cutting both wood and metal fasteners in the same cut. Use the shortest blade necessary to accomplish the job. You may also adjust the shoe to make the blade cutting area shorter. Operational safety checks. These are safety checks you must be aware of at all times while using the tool, and you must check them and perform them every time you use the tool on every single operation or cut. Clamp or secure the workpiece to the table or to sawhorses for more control of the tool. 2 or more clamps will provide the stability you need. This saw is safest when held with 2 hands, so always hold with both hands when operating. Position your work and the cut line so that the blade will not cut into the table or the sawhorses or any other surfaces. Use the variable speed trigger for greater control. For models that have a power cord, pay attention to the location of the power cord so that the blade stays clear of it. You do not want to accidentally cut through the power cord. Ensure that the shoe of the saw stays tight against the surface of the material at all times. The action of the saw and the blade will want to push the shoe away from the material. After making partial cuts, wait for the blade to stop moving before removing the saw from the workpiece. After cutting, keep control of the tool and keep the tool away from your body and away from other workers until the blade stops. Before clearing waste and debris, unplug the tool or remove the battery. Before making adjustments, unplug the tool or remove the battery. Basic Sawzall operation. As I said before, you want the shoe, to see the shoe is adjustable. It flexes depending on what your angle is. So as long as some part of the shoe is touching the material or the wood at all times, you should be good. This tool can cut on an angle like this or like that, wherever you need it to do, as long as the shoe is making firm contact. It is going to want to bounce back at me, so I need to keep that forward motion pressure all the time. Always start with the tool, with the blade not touching the wood. And it cuts like that. I can cut different angles. Can get in anywhere I need to cut with it. If we turn the saw upside down, sometimes you need to turn the saw blade upside down and cut from underneath. Nice table is. It's designed as a demolition tool, and as a demolition tool you need to have a lot of flexibility and a lot of variability. So one of the common tasks you might be using is where you lay in a piece of lumber as a cross bracing backstage of a platform and you rough it in, but instead of cutting this angle in the shop, taking the wood, putting it on the set, screwing it in place, marking it, taking it off, taking it to the chop saw, cutting it to the right angle after adjusting the angle, taking it back on stage. It's just it can be a long process for something that's just a structural support but doesn't need to necessarily be perfect or pretty because it's backstage and no one's going to see it. So you can screw it into place on the platform, and then using your blade to follow along the edge of the leg, you can trim things up. It doesn't have to be perfect. In this application that I'm describing, there will be applications where it will be perfect. The other option is that you have a piece of wood that is too steep of an angle. If the angle is too extreme, you're not going to be able to cut it on any of the power machinery. So then you have to use a hand tool. It's hard to be accurate with the reciprocating saw. So if this were an important cut, we'd probably want to use the circular saw for this particular cut. But if it was a rough cut and it didn't matter, then you could do the reciprocating saw. Let's put a mark in here. I'm not going to cut it in this place. That was just to figure out what my cut needed to be. I'm going to try and figure out how I can clamp this and still use the circular saw. Again, I'm very extreme angle. I really have to lift this up. Need to get my arm on the other side of that. This is the right tool to use for accuracy. This is the tool to use if you need to do some rough cutting or some demolition or something that just doesn't matter in terms of its perfectness or beauty. These are potential hazards to be aware of while operating this tool. Losing control of the tool can happen due to the reciprocating action of the saw. The blade can cause the tool to kick back or to cause the material to kick back. This is a cutting tool, so it will be expelling flying chips and sawdust. Chips and sawdust can be propelled at high speeds and cause injury to exposed skin. Always wear protective clothing and PPE. When this tool is in operation, the blade is exposed, presenting a potential point of contact for injury. Always be aware of where the blade is and keep yourself and others away from the blade. Eye injuries are possible from flying debris. Do not use faulty equipment. If something is not working properly, or if you suspect something is wrong with the tool or machine, please report this to your instructor and/or to the A&L technical director. Never hold the workpiece in your hand or across your leg when sawing. Doing so becomes extremely dangerous. Clamp the workpiece to a table or to sawhorses. If your workpiece is small and you cannot clamp it while using this tool, then do not use this tool to make that cut. Avoid making cuts above shoulder height. The further you reach, the harder it will be to maintain control of the tool. Never reach under the saw or the workpiece. Never overreach. If you have reached the end of your natural arm reach, don't risk losing your balance and losing control of the tool by overreaching. Stop the tool. Reposition yourself, the tool, and the workpiece so that you can continue with normal balance and arm reach. Put the tool away clean and with the cord neatly dressed. Blow compressed air into the tool to dislodge loose sawdust and to keep the tool clean. Pick up waste material immediately. After each cut, pick up your scraps and off-cut lumber and place it in a trash receptacle. Sweep up sawdust regularly to keep the floor from becoming a slip hazard. Dust off counters and tables. Put your sawhorses away. When you're putting away your tools, you want to coil the cable and put it away properly. Now there's 2 or 3 methods of doing the cable coiling and dressing the cable and putting the tool away properly. I'm going to tell you which ones are better and which ones are not so good for the tool. The first one you'll see is if it has a zip tie or a tie line on it. That's real easy. It's just like coiling cable, which you're going to learn in electrics when you take the electrics class, the lighting class. And you just coil it up into a nice, small, tidy spool. And then you take that Velcro tie, you see the tie, and you just wrap it around, and that bundles it. And that helps, and then you can just sort of tuck it around the tool and then put it away. The second way to do the cable is to, first of all, untangle your mess here. This one was not put away thoughtfully or with any care to the next person using it or the tidiness of the tool room. So you take your cable and you fold it in half, especially with a long cord. This is really good. Then you fold it in half a second time. So you get it till it's about around 2 feet to 18 inches to 2 feet, and then you take this end, loose end, not the end that's closest to the tool, but the end that's furthest from the tool, and you just go wrap it around, and then you pull these loops through, and it makes a nice, tidy little bundle. And that is ready to be put away neatly. The third method, not so effective and not really very preferred, is to take your tool and to just wrap it around a lot. This doesn't really secure it. You can sneak it through here in the end if you want. But what this does is this puts a little bit of a strain on this part of the cord as it goes into the housing and the motor. And it's got a strain relief on there. That's that extra rubber there. But you're going to, if you do this often, you're going to prematurely wear that, and you're going to have to replace your cord faster than you would otherwise. If it doesn't have a Velcro tie on it, then do the fold in half method. Fold it in half a second time, and then take these ends and just tie it in a nice loop. And that will keep all the cables tidy, that'll keep the tool room clean and organized, and everyone will be happy.